Well, Dave, thank you very much for joining the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me. And now the accent podcast makes even more sense because we're two guys with accent.
I know it makes too much sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the king of Lethwei, who came up with that nickname?
It's the fans, the Burmese fans. They were well at beginning. It was not all of them actually because it was quite controversial. Like we say in the jungle, you kill the king of the jungle, you become the king, and that was the same for Lithway. I fought. If you're familiar with the history, I fought Tuntumin, who was the open weight champion, who in Myanmar Lithway. The open weight champ is the strongest in the sport, and he accepts challenge from he fought some Russians, the Spanish, European, and all of them were bigger than him, and it doesn't matter. In Lithuania, it's all about showing your true self, your heart, and the galava, the headbutt
Yeah.
is allowed. So it makes it a very very different striking style, the most permissive and the most brutal sport. And yeah, when I beat him, I saw that in the comments, and I went with it, and I accepted it, and now they really like it.
Weren't you the very first non-Burmese person in the history of the sport winning that golden
Yeah.
belt, right?
Yeah, exactly, and I attribute that to the fact that most guys that went into Lithway before me, I fought recently last week actually, last 2 weeks I fought Cyrus Washington, who was the American fighter who was the first actually to have success in Lithway, and we'll get to that later. But basically, before that, many of them came into Lithway, and except Cyrus, most of them didn't have any success. They did well maybe at the beginning of the fight, but then when the pain threshold and the aggressivity of Lethwei, Birmansky box, it was getting too much. And then sometimes in Muay Thai or other sports, you grab the arms, but you forget the middle, the headbutt in the middle, which makes it completely different. So yeah, it was a very very powerful moment when me and my wife went to Myanmar, and we challenged. At the time, he was the king, but yeah.
Let's talk about the rules because when I first saw the highlights, I was thinking like, "Holy shit, this is real." And correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, you take Muay Thai, you add headbutts, you add suplexes and some more sophisticated throws, right?
Mhm.
And then there's no gloves, just
Mhm.
like similar to Muay Thai, but those wraps are even thinner, right?
Mhm.
Is it my
Well,
understanding?
so if I might say, I really don't like when we compare it to Muay Thai because it's a very sensible subject. For people talk about if they know the geography a little bit.
Yeah.
Thailand is neighboring country of Myanmar, who's to be called Burma, and Myanmar was a very powerful country in Southeast Asia, and the Burmese Empire was dominating in war many countries. And there's a lot of speculation that Myanmar basically planted the seeds because they colonized, they invaded parts of Thailand. They looted the temples. They looted the capital of Siam, the Ayutthaya, it's called. I'm very interested in that history, and there's a lot of speculation that once after Myanmar came into Thailand, that's when the Thailand started having their art called Mulbaran, and Mulbaran was allowed with headbutts and was with ropes on the hand. So that's a very defunct. It doesn't happen. They don't fight it anymore. It's only they changed the rule to start to have Muay Thai. So people say that Muay Thai, which was inspired from Mubaran, and Mubaran was inspired from Lethwei. So
Hmm.
technically, it's a very sour taste in Myanmar people's mouth because again, because of geopolitical problems, Myanmar was in the shadow of the world for a long time. It was sanctioned by USA, by leading countries, and they were really militarized. So I just want to make a point on that. That for like a long time, they were not able to. It was like USSR. It was like you could not leave the country. You could not import cars. It was very very hard. And while that was happening in Burma, in Myanmar, before democracy, Thailand was free for all. Let's import their sport to the world, and they didn't have any competition because Myanmar was secluded on itself, military and everything. So now, like, we have gyms in Muay Thai in America and Europe and Russia, everywhere. But I'm a strong believer that if Myanmar was not military dictatorship during that time, we would have Lethwei gyms around the world instead, and that's what I'm changing right now. So Lethwei is, again, it's the 2,000 years old. Headbutts allowed, KO to win. So traditional Lethwei is there's no scoring system, so it's only a KO or a TKO or a draw. That's very intense. That changes the style, a lot of the mentality, because if you get Muay Thai guys coming into Lethwei, they try to score points with low kicks, they try to score point with other things. But in Myanmar, the Burmese don't give a shit about that. They want to go for the kill. So it's a completely different culture, different smells, different mentality, like I said, in Muay Thai, they fight with gloves, and it's not the same getting punched with a glove, getting punched per knuckle, because without gloves you can get blood right away.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned that there are draws, and I've seen there are quite a few draws, but this is not that fights are close, right? It's just the person didn't give up. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, and that's the reason why I fought my last fight against Cyrus Washington, because even though you can dominate your opponent, I take a lot of pride in not getting too much damage, because I try to avoid. I cover well, and I take a lot of pride for that. When I dominate the guys, because if you look at my record right now, I think I'm 6-6, 6 KOs, 6 draws, but those draws are unidimensional. They're only on my side, and you can watch the fight on YouTube. Since the guy survived the 5 rounds, he literally survived because I was not in danger whatsoever. It was scored a draw. So for me, as much as I respect the mentality and the traditions of the draw, because the Burmese fans, my friend, they love a war. They just want to see blood. They want to see a fight. But fuck, if you see the fight, and you want to, I've dominated the guy. He barely touched me, and he was cut everywhere. And then on Wikipedia, I checked the other day, it was a draw. I'm like, fuck. So that's why I wanted to make sure that my rematch with Cyrus, I really make it no mistake, and he abandoned. It was a one-dimensional fight, and now I can close the books on that. And 20 years from now, 30 years from now, that was the main thing. When people are going to look at the golden era of Lethwei that we're living right now, they're going to see, you know what? Even though Cyrus succeeded in Lethwei a year or two before Dave, and Dave came in and succeeded as well, they eventually fought and they fucked him up. That's what I want to know.
And it was the first fight in the United States, right?
As well, so we made history for that.
Congrats, man. Yeah, I saw the fight. It's fascinating. Congratulations on. Yeah. Was it your title defense, and was it like 5th or 6th?
It was the 9th.
9th. Holy cow.
Yeah. So it was my 9th title fight, and it was the first time on U.S. soil in a cage, which was very cool to fight in Lethwei in a cage, because the clinch, that's where the magic happens, and we had fun in the clinch.
Explain to me that rule of 2-minute revival, because I saw it and I thought it's kind of brutal, but
it is, and it's controversial. And if you look at 1 second, I'm gonna plug this. If you look at the promotion I'm signed with, the WLC, which is the biggest Lethwei promotion right now in the world, they removed the injury timeout, which honestly I understand, because the 2-minute rule is, let's say you knock me out, my corner can call a timeout. They drag me to my corner, and then they slap my face, they bite my ear, they put water on my, and then they revive me. I have 2 minutes, and then I can decide if I want to continue or it's over. And you can count honestly on a very few, I think it was once or twice, that if the guy gets knocked out, he actually comes back and win the fight. So most of the time, it just delays the KO, and it's pretty detrimental for the brain. So
of course,
the WLC wants to have like a professional and build fighters and build champions, and it's not very good for the brain and the brain trauma. So I think, because if you look at it in my fights in traditional Lethwei, it's not only one KO, it's two KO to win. If you include the timeout, right? Because you knock him out, he uses his timeout, and then you have to knock him out again. Not very good for the brain.
Well, that's definitely brutal, and it's kind of ironic that you became an ambassador of this sport in the world, right? And when I'm looking at you, I can't reconcile your picture of this fun, smiley guy and the highlights that I saw, the way you fight. It's kind of weird. So you're
Why?
Canadian, right?
Yeah.
How did you discover Lethwei? Because it's prohibited in Canada. Even Muay Thai, I believe, is prohibited in Canada,
Yeah, and
right?
professional Muay Thai in Quebec, my province,
Hmm.
yes. But in other places in Canada, there's some places that Muay Thai is legal, but Lethwei definitely is illegal, and I don't think it's going to be legalized in my lifetime. Where to answer your question, I'm Canadian, but I don't identify as like everybody else. Like I feel like the fighting spirit of Quebecers and Canadians is long gone. I never related to this. And to answer your question, there's the Dave outside the ring, and there's the Dave inside the ring. I don't identify only as a fighter. I have way more things in my life. I'm a businessman. I love to study law. That's my passion.
Mm.
I love these things. So Dave is just a little fighter, and people don't expect. They don't know me, and they just comment, "Oh, he must have CTE." And no, I never had it, and I barely get touched in my fight, and I can verbalize my thoughts pretty well for a fighter, even not only for a fighter. But my point is, I think the reason why I clicked so much with Myanmar is exactly what I just said. In Canada, we're not fighters. It's not very. I mean, there's some, but it's not like everywhere. And
Mhm.
in Myanmar, I realized when I came in for the first time. First of all, I was so well received. That probably helped a lot to make me biased. But I was so well received, and I noticed that they're so polite, so humble, so kind. The Myanmar people. I travel all around the world, and I can say without any hesitation that they're the kindest people that I've met in my life. But then you look at them in the ring, and they are brutal with headbutts, KO to win, bare knuckle, and they're the inventor of the most brutal standing sport in the world. So you're like two contrasts, very kind but very brutal. And I identify myself like that as well. I think I try to be as kind as possible in my life, and fighting is just a sport for me. It's just a way to let my energy flow and do what I love. I think I have a lot of childhood traumas, like we all do in a way, and I like to show that because I was told maybe when I was younger, I was told that you're too small, you're too weak, you're too skinny, and people maybe took advantage of me, and I want to show that you don't have to be this big Ruki Bazuki, whatever, big like you don't muscle doesn't mean shit in fighting. Uh, in fact, the more you have, the more you have to carry oxygen in your lungs, in your blood. So I'm fighting of all these stigmas, I think, as a fighter, and but the ambassadorship of Myanmar, not only Lethwei but Myanmar, because I think it's very tied together. I said in many of my posts that as the sport of Lethwei can actually grow tourism and the economic aspect of Myanmar.
Interesting. But how did you start practicing it? Because there is no gym in Canada to train, right?
Yeah, that's when we go back to the idea of Lethwei is not a box. It's not a discipline like you have to do like in Muay Thai. You have to do this. You have to kick there. You have to do this. Lethwei is more of a free form. It's a mentality in my. That's
Mm.
why I see it. So for me, I never before going into Lethwei, and actually before going into Muay Thai, when I fought Muay Thai, I never fought Muay Thai before. My mentality was with my coach, my Sifu Patrick Marcel. He's my Sifu, my coach, and we train under the principle of everything goes, like Jeet Kune Do, like a bit like the Bruce Lee mentality is
Mm-hmm.
flow. Like so, we never were like fighting in one style, and that's I think it's the reason why I succeeded in Lethwei. Because if I would have done like everybody else, go in Lethwei like a Muay Thai fighter, I would have got hurt. I went in there like like my life depends on it, survival mode, and with a bit of a unorthodox spinning attacks. My style initially, to answer your question, is more like Chinese martial art, like Sanda, and actually MMA and grappling. So I molded everything together.
Do you think that style kind of throw people off, even though like they way more experienced than you are, but still they see something new and it's kind of very weird. They don't know how to react to that. Is it the case?
You mean fighters
Yes.
when they hear about Lethwei?
No, no. When they fight you in the ring, so
Yeah.
so even though they're more experienced, I kind of feel like one of the reasons they lose is they didn't see this kind of style. That they're not ready for this almost chaos coming their way that they haven't seen before.
Great question. I was in that position too myself when I fought in Lethwei first. It was my first Lethwei fight, and I still performed. So I think maybe you're right. Maybe it's a form of closed-mindedness, and I'm gonna fight a certain style. I fought kickboxers, heavyweight kickboxers. I fought Taekwondo masters, Muay Thai champions, Lethwei champions, MMA champions. So the thing is, I think you're right. I think maybe they have to embrace the Lethwei flow, the Lethwei mentality, and I guess I did it earlier in my career, and that's good. But yeah, I suggest everybody who wants to fight Lethwei have to remove basically all the barriers in their mind and really go like an animal.
It's interesting that you mentioned mind. That you often hear that in fighting the mental game is important, but in Litway it's probably even more important because you can basically end up in a draw by just staying around, right? By not going out. But still, how important is it to mentally be ready to, I don't know, to how do you prepare yourself even for that
Yeah.
kind of fight?
It's everything. That's a great question. Again, everything is mentality, because when I go in the ring and the cage, I'm always thinking, and that goes for everybody watching this that are business people, that are in relationship, that are looking for a job. Anything relates to that. I think life is a fight, and the principle that attributes to fighting can go to your getting a job interview, anything. I always psych myself up saying that he wants to hurt me. He wants to injure me. He wants to take away my status. He wants to take away the income that comes with the status. He wants to humiliate me in front of my wife, my jena, and everything. It's just, if that doesn't piss you off, well, you're gonna lose. It should be fueling. And I think I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I'm not the most genetically gifted, but it's all about what you want, like how bad do you want it, like. And the guy that wants it the most is gonna get it. The guy that wants the job the most is gonna get it. The guy that wants the business the most is gonna get it. So I always when I'm not gonna be hungry for victory, and not, I will retire. And as long as I am hungry, I really believe that nothing can stop me.
Do you think this hunger is something that people are born with, or it's something they develop?
I think it's, you can say born with, but they're experiencing it. Absolutely. I'm a big believer that immigrants from Russia, from other countries, people that we have a lot of immigrants in Canada, and a lot of them are business owners, successful, business owners. I think that, and I follow actually a former USSR, Gary V. He's
Yeah, I know the
we
guy.
met in the USA a couple of years ago, and it marked me when he said, he's like, the kill mentality, or the survival mentality of like, I don't have a choice. Being born in maybe less fortunate ways, we see that in soccer players and baseball players. They're born in Cuba and Africa, like, and they become great sportsmen because they literally have no choice. So honestly, yeah, if you're born in on a silver platter, and you're born in a nice family, and if you look at trust fund babies, for example, this is the highest suicide rates and unhappiness rate, is people that are born into money. You have to accomplish it yourself. You have to fight for something yourself. Otherwise, you're basically going through life with no purpose. So yeah, I believe so. I think this hunger is experienced into your childhood. Everything is childhood. Your taste in food, your taste in sex, everything is how you experience in your childhood. And basically, me and you right now, we're two kids we're two kids in the body of an adult male. That's how I view life, and that's how psychologists see life. We're basically our younger self with credit cards.
That's a good way of putting it. And
Yeah.
speaking of credit cards, and I'm assuming that Lethwei is not a type of career where average fighter can make a lot of money. Not yet,
Mm.
at least, right? Is it fair to say, or?
Well, if you look at the way, but yeah, first of all, yeah, absolutely. Now it's you can make a career with this. I'm obviously an exception in the way I have marketed myself and the way I played my cards. But definitely, if we're talking fighting wise, there's countless foreigners that are living in Thailand right now making $200 per fight. I was one of them. While I was waiting for my big shot, my goal
Mhm.
was always to go fight in Lethwei. For people that don't know, some haters also often say, "Oh, he did Muay Thai and he didn't succeed, and then he went to Lethwei." Well, first of all, I succeeded very well. I had 15 KOs in 16 fights, and the only loss I had was on the decision. So for me, it was just a matter of I never liked it. I always liked Lethwei. Before going into Myanmar to Thailand, I wanted to fight Lethwei, and it was just easier to go to Thailand. That being said, I I was before going into Myanmar and making way more money than I was making in Thailand. It was again $200 per fight in Phuket, Thailand. It was disgusting. And if you go maybe in bigger shows, which I didn't have time to go because I went into Lethwei. If you go to bigger shows, maybe you're talking 1,000, and then then you can go maybe a bit higher. But I don't know if you know some Muay Thai stars, but my friend fought a Muay Thai star, Sanchai, for example,
Yeah.
and he fought him at a Thai fight for I think he got $1,000 for the 30,000 baht or 40,000 baht, and then I got him his and he was getting very good in Muay Thai, but I got him a fight in Lethwei in Myanmar, non-televised, away from the city, free. It was a free show with a festival show, and that was his first Lethwei fight, not against a champion, not televised like in Thai fight. And I got him a fight for $5,000 US.
Oh,
So that's
nice.
5 times more than he got, and it was a non-televised show compared to Thai fight, which is the biggest show in Thailand. So definitely, and that's and then you can make more and more and more if you play your cards right, and if you keep winning. And the reason for that is that there's less people to pay potentially, and
Hmm.
there's less fighters, so they pay the guys very well. They have deep pockets in Burma and in Myanmar. They have there's a lot of entrepreneurs. For example, the guy that owns the WLC, the league
Yeah.
that I
Hmm.
signed with, he's the one of the richest guy in Asia. I think 1.2 billion dollars net
Oh,
worth.
nice.
So we're talking very wealthy guy financially. So they don't care. They want to, and that's very important to understand. They want to market their art to the world at whatever cost they can, because that's their pride that they were missing for many years. So it's a bit like Trump. Once you have money, you want power, you want something. So now they're already successful in their companies, and now okay, let's open the League of Lethwei. Let's showcase the world. Let's give us political power. Let's do all these. So it's very very brilliant. And but definitely my advice to people, to finish on that question, I would have done it earlier. And when I started fighting, Myanmar was just opening to democracy. It was very hard to get in. But nowadays, if I would be a fighter nowadays, starting my career, I would go in a heartbeat. I would go to Myanmar, find myself a camp, train there, get my name, because everybody that fights in Lethwei gets media publicity, gets articles, you are different. You are a black sheep
Mhm.
compared to being like everybody else in Thailand. So definitely you can make a great career and get sponsors and get everything.
It's a perfect niche, in other
Yeah.
words. And
Yeah.
tell me about the Leduc Lethwei.
Mm. So this is my I guess retirement plan, or something that I want to do from passion. Um, I already have like a blueprint to test it. The goal is to have affiliated gyms, not physical gym, but affiliated gyms that are already successful, that already have a good reputation. I have one in Iceland in Reykjavik, one in Redondo Beach in California, and one in Austin, Texas, and the other one is in Manhattan, New York. So we have like checked people that I get along with. I gave seminar at their gyms, and then they asked to be affiliated with my style. So the goal is to give my curriculum and to have affiliate gym around the world, as well as having an online academy. So we're finalizing the curriculum, and we should be shooting in 2021 to and then roll out to the world. There's, I get emails every day, man. Like the one guy wants to open a Leduc Lethwei gym in Egypt, in Cairo. So we're gonna see Lethwei everywhere. So I'm basically catching back the time, like I'm telling you about Thailand having the green light. Now I'm catching back. I'm like, let's get back what's ours. Technically it's our martial art. The Burmese is martial art, and so you're gonna see a lot of Lethwei gyms around.
Seems like you're a combination of Great Champion and Gary V. Like you may very much embrace the business side of this, social media and everything else.
We have to, right? And yes. Nowadays we have to. It can make the whole difference and everything. And if you're a lawyer and anything, you need those social media, and it's a great tool.
There is one thing about in your past, this prison fight. Tell me about that thing. It's kind of fascinating.
It was fucking crazy. Do you have your viewers? Are they from all around the world? You have a lot of Russian following as well, or no?
Quite a few, yeah.
Yeah, I can say like it was pizdets. It was like it was pizdets. It was crazy. I went there with my Turkish friend, and again, just to tell people that sometimes in life we have to do some sacrifices. We have to do stuff that in their short term kind of like sucks, but in the long term it pays off. And at the time I identified this as as one of them. So basically I had to pay my flight ticket to Bangkok, I had to pay my hotel, everything cost me a couple $1,000s, and I was not even promised money for that prison fight. So it was basically a free fight that I'm paying to be there. So I was starting to get some success in Muay Thai, but my goal again was always to go to Myanmar. But I had to make my name in the meantime, because you don't get invited into a Lethwei if you don't have a belt or if you don't have something, something specific to you. So I had to make my name, and I go to the Bangkok prison. It was a maximum security prison. It's in partnership with the what do you call that? The Thai Department of Correction, mm-hmm. And they give chances to inmates that are good fighters that competed before going into incarceration, that fight into big stadiums and everything. They give them the chance to give them better treatment, better cells, everything, if they fight for the pride of their country, and if they beat up foreigners like myself. So we get invited. It was me, Iranian, Mexican, Uzbek guy. So we're all there. I go inside. They take away your cell phone, they scan you up, and then you go inside the prison, and it's like, okay, you're alone inside of a prison yard with 1,000 maximum security guys that are there for rape, murder, drug trafficking. So they're not sissies, and they're looking at you like they want to stab you in the throat, So it was intense. So we go there, start warming up, and I hear music. I'm like, what the fuck is that music? With an accent. The music, the singer had an accent. He was a Thai singing the music to get us ready for the fight. Just to let there was no media. There was no. It was only the prison warden, the director of the prison, on a lazy boy in front of the ring, and there was no people allowed inside except the prisoners on a good behavior. And so basically, I started hearing the song with an accent, and it's a Thai guy singing Backstreet Boys. I'm like, whoa, where am I? And I ended up winning the fight. Everybody else lost except one guy. So 2 out of the 10 fight we won. The 2 foreigners, all the other Thai inmates, they won. And the particularity of this is that if the inmate wins, he gets sentence reduction. So that was
you crushed somebody's dream. Thank you, sir. Good job.
I know. And people in the media, I think there was the Bangkok Post, there was the Washington Post, and New York Times. They were there and they asked us questions, and they said, "Why don't you let him win?" I'm like, "Why would I? I have my struggles as well. I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to make my name. I'm trying, like, I'm not gonna let another guy beat me up. It's survival. Like, I'm not even getting paid for this fight, so fuck you. I'm gonna win. So yeah, basically, it was intense. It was intense, and yeah, the name of the event was Fight for Freedom. That's exactly what was happening. They were fighting for their freedom, but I was as well, because life was not all rose, pink and beautiful. Like, we all have our things, and yeah, and the story. It's funny that you asked that. The reason why I got into Lethwei is because of that fight. Who would have thought, right? Prison, Muay Thai. Why does it lead to Lethwei? Well, a couple of years later, I meet my wife. And again, for the viewers, my wife is Russian. She's born in Moldova at the end of USSR, and she comes here, and she obviously, she wants nice things. Being born in a poorer country, right? She wants nice, and I want to give it to her. So at the time, I was only making a couple $100 a fight, right? It was nothing. So we had a big moment. We were both crying. It was very like emotional, like how we're gonna make this work. Because I am a big proponent. Like I want her to be able to. If she doesn't want to work, she doesn't have to work. So it takes more. I need to provide even more money for that. So that night I didn't sleep, and I remember calling the next morning. I called the promoter of Prison Fight, and I tell them, hey, do you remember me? He's like, yeah, of course I remember you. Were a crazy Canadian. I said, well, I need a fight. Like, I need money now, so give me a fight. He's like, well, I don't promote Muay Thai anymore. I said, what do you mean? Well, I promote Lethwei. Wow, amazing. Let's give me a fight. So the rest is history. I got into fighting 2-2 for my. So basically, I fought my first Lethwei fight was for a world title, and it was a draw. And then I challenged the Openweight champion Tun Tun Min for the Openweight world title in my second fight. So
Didn't you fight Tutanmin 3 times?
exactly, you're
That,
good. You're good.
that's crazy. And I might understand that the first draw, the 2-2, he kept the title, but because the way you fought him, people remembered you, right? They became like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, well said. They say, oh my god, and not only that, but I showed respect to the culture and the symbolism of Lethwei, the challenging and the dance, and I showed that I cared, and I actually genuinely cared about them. I was wearing my we call that the longi, but it's like a
Uh-huh.
skirt almost. It was a long
Yeah.
it's a long skirt, and I really like it. It's very comfortable, so I started wearing it everywhere I go. So Myanmar fans were going crazy about this.
Myanmar fans clearly paying you back with that. I've read that your wedding was translated for more than 30 million people,
Yeah.
and somebody actually picked up the bill for that wedding. How did you? How did that happen?
Yeah, that was crazy. So if we're going in a very good timeline. So I got the 2-2 fight after prison. Then I go to Tuntumin challenging for the open weight belt. It's a draw again. Then the second time, um, actually, in between that, I got engaged with Irina
Hmm.
in Bagan in Myanmar. So then it goes into the news. Everybody talks about it that this this Dave, the new up and coming fighter in Lethwei, is got engaged in Myanmar. So then the promoter calls us and he's like, "Do you want to get married? Since you got engaged, you want to get married in Myanmar?" So I'm like, "Of course, we always like crazy things, different things, and on not ordinary." And so it would be like traditional wedding with the hat and the golden clothes. So we love the idea, and then basically he said, "Yeah, so we're gonna pay for your wedding, but you have to win the fight. So if you win the fight, we're gonna pay for your wedding." So I had a lot of pressure. So I win, and then the wedding was nobody from her family was able to come. Nobody, we had no guests, only the tycoons, the business tycoons of Myanmar, the TV owners, TV channel owners, newspaper owner. It was live broadcasted on national television. It was quite an experience. It was like a movie. And we received like appliances, like a microwave. We received a stack of cash. We didn't know anybody there. It was 100 people, 100 people that we didn't know. And until that day, we started seeing like all, because everybody watched it. Myanmar has around 54 million people. So if you took about like more than half the country
Oh
watched it,
my.
and it was insane. And people were still, on their phone right now. They still like they showed their screensaver, and it's our wedding picture. So it really marked them that a foreign couple got married under their traditional, uh, how do you call that?
Burmese?
Traditional traditions.
Okay, got it, got it. So, how much time did it take you to go from $200 a fight to that wedding? A couple of
Well,
years, probably, right?
yeah. It was. We're talking 2000. Well, actually, it happened pretty fast.
That's
I mean,
insane.
yeah, it happened pretty fast. It was 2015. I remember I was still fighting in Muay Thai because I met my wife Irina in Thailand. So she was there when I fought for $150, right? So and then the same. Sorry, that was 2016 actually. So early 2016, I was still fighting for shit money, and then and then we got the call to go replace a fighter and fight for the world title against Tutu, and yeah, that right away there was it was already way more than I ever imagined, and then it kept climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing until I fought in, and also I fought in Japan in Tokyo, and yeah,
So you had, I think about 3 or 4 fights in Japan, right?
three.
How, how would you compare Japanese public with Myanmar public?
Good question. Nobody asked me that. So basically, the Myanmar people are extremely vocal, very screaming, and they sometimes throw things because they're very into the fighting. Let it be known that they don't serve alcohol at Myanmar. They don't have it. It's only about the fight. You watch the fight. You get the grandmothers watch the fight. Kids watch the fight. No alcohol is served. It's a Buddhist country, and it's and then if you go to Japan, very quiet, very poised, and they clap very slowly. There's almost no sound. You can hear yourself talk with your coach very
Huh.
easily, while in Myanmar you can't. And obviously they love to drink in Japan, and so but it's the most striking thing is the noise. There's almost no noise in the Japanese arena compared to the Myanmar arena.
What does this noise do to you? When you hear this noise, is it energizing or it's distracting?
I honestly, as much as I would like to say it fuels me, or I barely remember anything once we're fighting. Once we're in the middle of the fight, it's everything doesn't matter. I do like it prior to me getting into the ring. Like it gives me energy and it
Mhm.
fuels me. But once it's fight time, I don't hear it anymore. It doesn't matter to me. I was hearing in my third fight with Tutumin, I was hearing a lot of boos because Tutumin's fans took away. It was supposed to be his big comeback, and they took the event arena by storm. So like almost 100% of the fans there were his fans. So, but yeah, he didn't get the outcome that he wished.
And I've read somewhere, but I don't think I got it exactly. So you had to relinquish a few titles, right?
It
From
was a
some
decision
others.
that I did myself.
Yep. Yes. For can you provide some color?
Yeah.
What's the?
So in after I unified all the titles, there was the RQBZ title tournament.
Mhm.
Then there was the Japanese one. Then there was the another promotion, the MLWC. So basically, once I have them all, I wanted to go attack the WLC, and I wanted that beautiful belt as well because it was the
Mhm.
nicest one. So, but I know, and again, people need to understand that there's two schools of thought in Myanmar. Right? There's the modern Lethwei rules, which is the WLC, which they removed the injury timeout,
Mhm.
and in there's the other ones that I all my fights were traditional Lethwei rules, right? So I knew that if I would go to the WLC without relinquishing or without vacating my belts, they would eventually be removed. They would be stripped by the promoters regardless. I did not want that to happen. I don't
Mhm.
get stripped. I vacate. So I was like a chess, like I removed it before they could remove it from me because yeah, I signed an exclusive deal with the WLC. Being exclusive, I can't fight for anybody else, right? So I decided to vacate it and clear my slate. But I kept my traditional title though. So that's why I was able to go defend it in USA. And honestly, as much as this whole situation, the whole pandemic, whatever
Hmm.
is sucks, it was a blessing in a way, because if it wasn't for that, I would not have been able to go fight in USA. I would not have a title to defend. So as we speak right now, I have the Openweight title and in traditional rules, and I have the WLC title in modern rules.
Cruiserweight.
Yeah.
And that, so you fight in cruiserweight, and I've read that you fought in MMA, and you had some issue with a weight cut because the
Yeah.
person who I'm assuming you didn't realize that some people cut weight, and you
Yeah.
end up fighting somebody who was like 3 times your size, right?
Yeah, exactly. And in MMA, when there's wrestling involved, weight
Yes.
is important. That's why the guys cut weight like crazy. I when I went into striking, I decided, you know what, let's fight at my walking weight. It's the healthiest decision. I have a lot of people that I know that have a lot of health defects. Where some people even died from cutting weight. It's very dangerous for the liver and the body and the brain. You
Mhm.
dehydrate your entire body. So as much as I can, I'd like to not cut weight. I have an offer next year to go fight at 160 pounds, which is
Well, you
like
fight at 200 right now, right?
no. I'm 175 pounds.
Okay, I thought you. Okay,
Yeah,
for some reason I thought you were
yeah.
much.
I look. People think because I'm 6'2" or 188 centimeters, like I'm 200 and something. I could be, but I'm actually last weigh-in. I didn't even cut weight for Cyrus Washington. I ate no problem, and I was
Nice.
174 pounds,
Oh,
and that
that's
was
nice.
fully hydrated, fully fed, and nothing, not even nothing. So if I would cut weight, I would be, 155 or something, and like everybody else, like even Khabib, he cuts weight to
Yeah,
155, but he's probably, I think he's
190.
heavier than me. Yeah, he's heavier than me. I think he walks at 190 pounds. I think he's
Yes.
heavier than me. So that's the misconception. People think that, but yeah, when I fought in WLC cruiserweight, it was overweight for me. It was too much. I don't care because striking. It's all about quickness and strong. But my weight, according to the fighting community, my weight should be, you know, 75 kilograms or 72 kilograms. I don't know. But right now I'm fighting open weight, which means that, I fought guys that were 200 pounds, that were, Seth Basinski was at least a 25 pounds heavier than me on fight day. Cyrus Washington, actually, he weighed in at 185 and I weighed in at 174. So already there we had 10 pounds, and he obviously was cutting weight. So I think on fight day we were about 15 pounds. He was about 190 probably or something, and I was 174, 175. So yeah, I like to be able to say that I fight heavier guys. That's fun. But if I do a return in MMA one day, obviously I'm going to take cutting weight way more seriously. It wasn't done in a proper way before. I was an amateur, and now I'm a professional, and I have a lot of experience. So we have a lot of offers. One championship, Bellator. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of offers on the table. We'll see what's happening.
That's a great place to be when you have a lot of offers and you don't even accept them, huh?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when you look at your career as a fighter, what's the most memorable fight for you?
Hmm. Hmm. Fuck, that's a hard question. I have a few actually. I have quickly. I could say, well, the last one was important for me to go pierce the U.S. market, because as much as everybody sometimes hates American, even my wife said, in Russia people love American stuff. They love iPhones. They love all these things. America is a trendsetter for everybody in the world. So I knew it was a big market to pierce, and they loved it. So this fight, because I'm happy that I avenged my performance. I was not happy with my first performance, so now I'm happy for that, and it was on U.S. soil. Second one, when I fought in Japan, all three fights, just happy to actually the first one was nice when I did my spitting elbow, because it was like a dream come true. I don't know if you played video games when you were younger, like Super Nintendo or some kind of Street Fighter games. So that was for me going into Japan. It's kind of the mecca of fighting.
Yeah.
I was happy to go there, and I would have to say honestly, the hardest opponent that I've had was Tuntun Min. I was watching his fight. He's actually a year younger than me. He's 28. I'm 29, and people think that he's older, but no, he's actually a year younger than me. I was actually looking at some of his YouTube fights before going into Myanmar. So I knew who he was. He was already a fucking legend. He was already a beast. I had to adapt very fast. So I'm very proud of myself to be able to adapt and to perform well against him. But yeah, I would say this was the fight that changed everything for me. Fighting Tuntun Min was. I have to give respect when credit is due. I have to give respect, even though we have a rivalry together. Even though we fought 3 times. Even though we don't kind of like each other very much. I have to say that he's a hell of a fighter, and it was great to share the ring with him.
That's a great sportsmanship. Hey, I have just quick blitz for you. I'm gonna ask you a quick question and give me a quick answer. Okay, what's your favorite movie?
Catch Me If You Can.
What's your favorite song?
Oh, shit! I love disco, so I would say actually, "And the Beat Goes On" by Earth, Wind and Fire. "And the Beat Goes On." That's my favorite song.
That's nice. Your favorite car?
Oh, my mentality changed a lot on material stuff in the last year. My dream was always to have a Rolls Royce, but now actually I scratched that because I would feel like a fucking hypocrite to have a car when I can help so much more in Myanmar. Like I want to help orphanage, build school, hospitals. So I scratched that goal. I don't give a shit about material stuff. My car that I have right now is a Hemi, whatever, Durango, really cool car. It's free. It's paid by my sponsors. I don't want to have. I don't want to put material possessions into my happiness. It never stops. We should be content where we are. So a car will not make me happy. Yeah, it doesn't. The question is, it doesn't matter.
That's a great answer. What's your favorite sport outside Lethwei?
Baseball. I was a pitcher before.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say that. I had a question about your favorite country to visit, but I think I know the answer. Is it?
Actually, you might. It was Moldova.
Oh, it's just because of your wife. Come on, is she next to you? That's why you're saying that?
No, she's not there, but I often say it. Honestly, we travel so much for the seminar tours. We loved Russia, we loved Ukraine, we loved Moldova. They all have their things, but Moldova was special for me because that's where she's born, and I was very proud that she shows me her roots. But honestly, we can't wait to go back to Myanmar right now. So Myanmar is definitely a favorite country.
And what's the first item on your bucket list?
Bucket list?
Yeah.
Again, I'm cheesy, but my bucket list, which is true, is the bucket list of my wife. Meaning that I cannot be happy if she's unhappy. It's so everything that she wants. And again, I'm not even inventing here. It's the truth. If my bucket list is her, I have it on my phone right now. I need to go through her list, and that will make me happy. So I don't honestly. I'm very selfish when it comes to that. Selfless when it comes to that.
And the last question. So what advice would you give to young fighters who want to succeed in Lethwei?
Go to Myanmar, save some money, go to Myanmar, train there, get some fights, and train your neck. That goes for every fighter in every discipline. And even if you're not a fighter, if you're a bureaucrat, train your neck. It's going to help you for back problems and spinal problems. I would say basically don't be afraid to fight in those rules set, and give your all every fight, and the Myanmar people are going to love you.
Thank you very much, David. It's a great interview, and I really appreciate you taking time off our schedule.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And so now we have, like I said, real accent, French accent.
Yeah.
But, can you say a departing something in Russian to for all the fans? Departing words. So anything you want.
You say something.
Мне очень нравится бирманский бокс, и это моя жизнь. Моя жена тоже из моей жизни. And I don't know what to say else. I'm not that good.
Well, she definitely taught you the right things to say, right?
Она мой профессор, да?
Your teacher, yeah, cool. Well, thanks again, man. Best of luck to you too, and I'm looking forward to read more news about you and watching you succeed even more.
Thanks for and again, you have extremely well researched and great questions. It was a pleasure.